entering two running backs that are going low in fantasy drafts and definitely are sleeper options. The first guy, Marlon Mack of the Houston Texans. So Marlon Mack last season, he was banged up, and then when he did come back, he just didn't look good at all for the Indianapolis Colts. But reports coming out that he's healthier than ever since 2020. And he was pretty good in that season before he went down with injury. And then Jonathan Taylor took over. And last season, he didn't do much, only 101 rush yards on 28 carries with 2 catches and 8 receiving yards. So right here, Marlon Mack, it looks like he's going to be the starter, him or Pierce over there for this Houston Texan team. And Marlon Mack, he's a physical running back. He could catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit. And this Houston Texan team's obviously rebuilding with Davis Mills and all their top players gone over the last few seasons, like a DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, J.J. Watt, and then Deshaun Watson trading him in the offseason to the Cleveland Browns. So it's a total rebuild over there. But you need good running backs who could at least protection, and they could catch the ball out of the backfield and run in between the tackles for those tough yards. And Marlon Mack could do it. And right now, he's a guy going way back in fantasy drafts, 14th, 15th round. And if he's a starter and you could get a starter for your bench late in your fantasy leagues here, that's a pretty good thing. And Marlon Mack, it wouldn't surprise me to see him carve out a flex option type of player as the season goes on here. So Marlon Mack going late in drafts, and if he's the starter over there in Houston, he's definitely a great sleeper option to draft this season. The next guy is James Robinson, Jacksonville Jaguars. So James Robinson last season, he got hurt last year, but he should be back and ready to go after the Achilles injury. And right now he's taking first team reps with the running backs over there. Everyone's high on Travis Etienne. He's going 4th, 5th round in most fantasy leagues. And let's be real here. Travis Etienne, he hasn't played one down in the NFL. There was a lot of preseason hype for him last season before he got hurt in training camp. And just because he played with Trevor Lawrence in college doesn't mean anything, even though we saw Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have a monster season last year getting to the Super Bowl. But anyway, James Robinson, he's been a solid running back over the last few seasons. And they even cut Leonard Fournette a few years ago to put him in the starting lineup. So last season, 164 carries, 767 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, 31 catches, 221 receiving yards, and 2 fumble losses. So as long as he's healthy, he's going to be on the field, no doubt about it. I don't think Travis Etienne's a 3-down back. And James Robinson, we know he could catch the ball out of the backfield. We know he could run through the tackles. And he's also a guy that could breakaway speed in the open field as well. So Robinson, a lot of people overlooking him. And right now he's going 9th to the 12th round range here. And I think that's good rep range to get James Robinson, to have a decent starter on your bench or even as a flex option entering the season here. And he's a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on, and I think he's going to be the leader in that backfield over there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next guy is Mark Ingram of the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints, they're going to go back to their bread and butter a few seasons ago, where Ingram and Kamara was a 60-40 split, with obviously Kamara being the main man there. But Ingram is a short yardage guy and a goal line guy. He's still got the power to get through the line and make a few plays here. So Ingram last season, between the Houston Texans and the Saints, had 160 carries, 554 rush yards, 2 touchdowns, 27 grabs, 162 receiving yards, and a fumble loss. And I know there's some off-the-field problems here with Kamara, but Kamara is a guy that I'm not going to avoid in fantasy drafts. He's a guy I'm going to want on my team. If Winston's healthy, he's going to be good Kamara. Get a lot of catches out of the backfield, but Mark Ingram's the perfect change of pace back and a guy who's going to get some goal line carries. And most fantasy leagues, he's barely getting drafted, is Mark Ingram. But right here is a handcuff or even a guy to get some work, or God forbid Kamara is going to be out for some time with a suspension. He's a perfect sleeper. Not many people thinking about Ingram. And I'm being aware of Mark Ingram, that he could play a factor for this Saint team and be a decent flex option maybe down the road this season for fantasy owners. The next guy is James Cook of the Buffalo Bills, so the younger brother of Dalvin Cook here. And James Cook, he's opening a lot of eyes so far early in training camp here. Sherman's been saying, the Buffalo Bills head coach. And if they could add another dimension to already great offense with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox in that lineup, and Jamison Crowder, that's going to be something here for this Bill team. So Cook, I think he could be the number one guy over there, no doubt about it. I don't think Singletary's good. Zach Moss, we know he's a physical back, but he's not a guy that has enough juice I think either to be the number one back. So if James Cook is anything like his brother here, this guy could be a fantasy monster this season. And it really won't surprise me if he could be in the top 20 in running backs as long as he gets an opportunity. So right now, going 8th or 9th round, I think that's good ADP to get James Cook on your roster. And right now, you pick him in your fantasy draft as a guy to start on your bench. But it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, by week 5 or 6 that he could either be a number 2 running back or a flex option. I'm big on James Cook coming into the season. And if he could fit this Buffalo offense like a glove, watch out for the rest of the league. And the final running back I have is a sleeper, Algier of the Atlanta Falcons. So right now, he's way down on the depth chart, but it's only training camp. I think this guy could obviously beat Cordell Patterson out when it's all said and done, even though we know Cordell Patterson had a great season last year. But Algier, he's going late in fantasy drafts, anywhere from the 12th to the 15th round, the last few rounds of most fantasy leagues here. But this guy has potential. He definitely could be a guy that takes the reins later on in the season. If they want to go, obviously, with the younger guys, if the Falcons are out of the race, which obviously I think they're going to be, they're probably a 6 or 7 win team at best here, is this Atlanta Falcon team. And Cordell Patterson, he still could line up as a receiver and a running back as well. And last season when Mike Davis was over there in Atlanta, they were still sharing carries for the most part. So Algier, he's got some hype coming into training camp. He's a guy that definitely could get things going here. And he's definitely a sleeper that not many people are talking about or thinking he could do anything. But right now, this Falcon team, like I mentioned, they're going to be out of it early and often. They're going to play the younger guys and want to see what they got with this kid. And if you get him late in your draft and stash him on your bench, low risk, high reward type of move. So he's a running back I would target. So that's a few RBs that I have as sleeper options entering fantasy drafts and the season within the next couple weeks.